May 30th, 2019. And the first order of business is to approve minutes from the May 22nd meeting.
I've reviewed those minutes and find them to be superbly in order and move for those approved, please.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So the minutes are approved.
Superbly different.
That's right. Now, the second thing on our agenda is to review the proposed current year revenue and amendments.
Yes.
We've been working off some estimates and we're getting closer to the line, so
Yes, usually we do these in our first June meeting, but because of how all this has got to play quickly, with us getting this done and the publication, we're going to do it tonight, because these numbers roll into the next discussion. So, for those who've not been on budget, this is what it looks like. We'll have what the original budget for every line, what the amend, of course, some have already been amended as we've gone through the year. And this is what has, as of May 28th, is what these numbers are, not May 16th, but May 28th in the upper left. And then out to the side is whether there's an increase to the estimate or a decrease. So you can look on down. You've kind of had indications all year long as we've been talking, comparing what we were getting each month compared to the prior 5 years, compared to the budget, just giving you indications. We can fix those lines to the positive. So as you go down, look at them all along the way. On the last page, total estimated revenue increases is $7,188,248. Decreases $1,284,890. That's a net increase of revenues of $5,903,358. Then we get down to this next block, because some of that revenue coming in will not flow into unassigned fund balance it flows into restricted fund balances. So this down in the bottom is some calculations trying to account for those type things. Now, under the reserves, I do want to bring your attention to two things above the gray line. Workers' compensation insurance. I looked at that fund, and I knew that that was going to need adjustment, so I wanted to take care of that while we were doing this revenue adjustment. So I'm recommending an $800,000 increase for the county's contribution for the workers' comp OJI. Revenue, for all the revenues, there is a percentage that goes to trustees' commission. So with adding this much revenue, we need to adjust $110,000 of that to trustees' commission. So for those two items, plus taking into consideration the reserve, in total of $2,216,600, the net to unassigned fund balance would be $3,581,758. That takes that $5,000,009, subtracts the 2, gives me the 320, $3,581,000. You want my calculator?
It's got too many buttons and a tape.
As you know, calculating, there's one number I do want to talk about, and it's hard to measure, and that's the contracted prisoner board. I've added $1 million to that particular line. It very well may come in better. I'm on page, just the back page. The account number is 46915.
On the statement, the first statement.
Left side, account number 46915. the state is behind. Sometimes there is a measuring period. If we don't get it within 60 days of the fiscal year end, then it counts into next year's revenue. And right now they're behind. So, got $1 million. That's 3 months.
So that 3,581,758, you're saying that possibly, what, $1 million of that we may not get?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking I'm
meant
conservative.
until
The 3,581,000, I feel comfortable using that number. Of course, $1 million of it is an increase that is for that contracted board. That could come in better. My offset to all of this is Lisa, what if your numbers, what have you been not so conservative of this is in our looking at things is we have not considered what are we not spending. So what we not spending should offset any revenue that I might have missed.
You've overestimated, basically.
Yes.
And she usually does. As a rule, she does a good job on the revenues, and she's,
We want to hit it. Hit the number.
We went over, is what you're saying.
Sir?
We went over.
We got more.
Yeah.
Yeah, than these estimates.
What's the community development 47180? It was a $500,000 increase or a decrease?
That is that home grant.
And that's just
That shows up
after
next year.
When we rebudgeted.
We re-
this year.
It's just too many.
We didn't spend the money, so.
We're not going to get it this year.
And then one of the things you said you wanted me to remind you about was the audit.
I got it. Got it.
Because I saw that number's a decrease too.
are there any other questions for?
There's a lot of decreases under general sessions court.
There's well, if you look at that, yes, a lot of the courts, fines and things related to the courts, they're just not there. They're not coming in.
Is that to any kind of a policy change, or do we?
Yeah, I think a lot of that was generated from the Judge Trauber's decision that came down from the circuit stating that these agencies can't use, there was a state law that said that they could, if people couldn't pay their fines, then they could suspend their driver's license. And she came back and ruled against it. It's being appealed, but those numbers are just falling because there's no teeth,
Right.
to make them pay this fee, so they're going, I don't want to pay, with that
There's
ruling.
no.
And word
courthouse.
gets around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll probably continue to see those numbers decline.
yeah.
So we might need to plan.
And I don't know how long that lawsuit's gonna last,
Yeah.
Because the argument on the other side is people can't get to work to pay it, if they don't have a driver's license.
Why was there an increase to juvenile detention?
That juvenile detention, that's the monies that they're getting from other counties.
And is that the same logic that you talked about a minute ago, the probation fees decreasing by $400,000?
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah, that's directly from that lawsuit.
Yeah.
So, in trying to budget this year and be conservative, what will you do to those numbers?
I mean, when I budget these, I'm looking at what have we collected to date, and I'm looking at the last 5 years. What have we collected? How are we collecting? Are we behind? Are we ahead? If we're starting to reduce, then I will cut it.
I'm just wondering because some of these new things that are happening, the new lawsuits and different things that are happening, I wonder if you should even just look at the last 6 to 12 months and see.
And some I do.
Yeah.
And it's like these, I mean, and some of these,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take in consideration the things that are happening today.
Right,
But
right.
didn't happen 2
Right.
years ago.
Right, that's what I'm wondering,
Yes.
if we don't need to,
Oh, yeah, I do.
yeah,
Especially those fees and fines.
yeah.
Some of those we're talking about too go into restricted revenues, so
Right.
they're not even going into unassigned fund balance to
Right.
be used for basically anything. This has to be used for these specific purposes. That's the, you see the highlighted lines and the numbers in the white right-hand column.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Those that are gray have specific, can only be spent for specific things. Some of those I did not hold back on the reserve because we never have enough money to cover what it is that it's supposed to be for, so I did not restrict any of that money.
So even though they have a dedicated purpose, does that hurt us at all? I mean, if that money doesn't come in, it just means it's not being spent. It doesn't mean we have to supplement it out of general
Okay.
fund, or does it?
Oh, yes, it does. Think of it this way. I'm going to pick court security. That court security is to be spent on court security. So you've got all those officers, plus their uniforms, their training,
Right.
all that. And typically, by the time we add that plus the security at juvenile, it eats it all up. So there's no reserve.
Are you expecting any, I know you said you feel pretty good about these, you're not expecting any wild fluctuations from this for June, when you think we're gonna be?
No, I will look at them again. I mean, the biggest number that's not there is the trustee. And we won't get that. Will we get that tomorrow? When they close and Mark books it, then we'll know what their activity was for May. So each of these, I will need your approval. And this is like one big amendment. This is one huge amendment.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Did we need to go by each one, or we can approve this as a whole?
What typically we do is what Mark puts in the minutes are the bottom line numbers.
All right.
You know, it's an increase of $7,188,000, decrease of $1,284,890, increase workers' comp insurance $800, and increase trustees' commission $100. That really is the entry that's going to hit the books.
And the trustees, the only thing you can anticipate maybe changing later when we get closer.
On this particular one, the trustees' commission, I hope I have put in enough to cover any additional revenue that I did add more to that as a hedge.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second.
Second.
Commissioner Allen, we have a motion and a second. We need to call roll on these, or?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other discussion before we do call? Not hearing any, go ahead.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, the next thing is to review budgets as necessary.
Nope, we got to go to 116. That was
Oh,
just
I'm
general
sorry.
fund. We got several of these. So on Fund 116, same layout, the total increases to revenue is $478,453. There appears to be sufficient amount in the trustees' commission, so I'm not making any adjustments for that.
increases.
Right.
Are there any questions on the solid waste?
You need a motion.
We do.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second by Mr. Allen on the solid waste. Is there any other discussion? There being none, let's call roll, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, the next one is the ambulance fund. Total increases, revenue of $454,460, decreases $187,760. We need to increase the trustees commission by $12,000. We'll have a net increase to the assigned for fund balance of $254,700.
Where we had a deficit of 101.
Yeah, now we got a little,
So we got a positive of
100.
153.
Yes.
Have you got that broken out where we're doing the, what's it, convalescence or whatever?
It's, yes, the convalescence is 43190.
43190.
Yes, sir.
Other general service charges, 236,500.
Yes, that's the estimate, and it depends on how they do. You know, I don't have any history except for what every month is, and every month has improvement on the issue here. The last month, I think it was April that I did, or March.
Mark, I believe.
March was $40,000, so if it keeps 40,000, April, May, June, yeah. So I just left it alone. I left that one alone because that revenue estimate offsets against that budget, and I think it's going to end up, you know, they're not going to spend everything that we had budgeted for them. We budgeted for the whole year, and they didn't start the whole year. So I'm really just kind of offsetting revenue.
The past due collections, is that a high number, that 255? Is that a,
Some of that, it's how they account for it. The way Melanie does it in their books and not how I do it, you know, how it gets to us. And sometimes, as you can see, she may have had it or budgeted in patient charges and not in the other, which is kind of what this is.
thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. That's fine. Okay. We'll just pretend it's an estimate.
I believe we've been sharing a cough around the table. So,
Sorry, I was gonna say, let's get over here to try where it said drugstore.
Were there any other questions on the ambulance service line?
Do you know what the patient charges decrease was so high? 43,120?
43,120. They've been behind consistently all year, so until I see anything else, I'm hedging. But on the flip side, their past due is better than what what they've done in previous times too, so it kind of is offset.
You think those two are tied?
Are we still using that outside agency to
bill.
collect or to bill, yeah?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second motion. Commissioner Dodge, second. Is there any other discussion on the ambulance service fund? There being none, please call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Gooch?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. Motion carries.
Fund 121 is a little fund, but, and the only thing I'm recognizing that is the investment income that it's received through May, and that's increasing at $753.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions for release on this fund? There being none, please call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. Motion carries.
So the next one is the drug fund, and it's primarily, well, primarily, it's not primarily, but it has monies coming from the courts too. So just like we had in the general fund, you're seeing reductions in this fund as well. So net, where's my net? Increases to the drug fund is $9,135, and decreases $38,830 for a net decrease to their restricted for fund balance of $29,695.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any other questions on the drug control fund? There hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay, so Fund 131 is 2 pages. The net increase is $954,453. The decrease, $417,200. We'll have an increase to trustees commission of $30,000 to have a net increase for their assigned for highway public works of $507,253.
Couldn't follow you on that one.
It's fund total, 954.
I just don't see that in the book.
You don't have 131?
It's on 31, but it just didn't look.
Oh, wait,
Just in the back.
it's in the back.
Thank you. That helps a lot.
Got me too.
I was struggling. I was looking everywhere for it.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this fund? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. And motion carries.
We're going to skip 177. Jeff is going to present to his board first. If you don't mind skipping that, let's finish up with the debt service. We have net increases of $4,021,460 with an increase to the trustees commission of $65,000 for a net increase of assigned for debt service of $3,956,460.
So in that fund, we'll end up receiving almost $4 million more than what you anticipated.
So this 678.9 number on your estimated change in fund balance as presented, we've increased that by
You'll have
$4
a new
million.
one for me. Yesterday, what I was showing you is like, around 3, but when you look at every single number and do a little deeper dive than what I did previously.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, Commissioner Johnson. Any other questions about the general debt service fund? Hearing none, go ahead and call roll, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner, can I talk just a little on a particular one? And you see it in all of them. It's the current property tax, which is the current levy. This would be the 2018 levy. So the way that that is estimated, we get the numbers from the assessor and apply the calculations to that current number. Then this number is estimated for the 2018, what you're going to collect. You start collecting in October. It's what you collected that levy by June 30th. You know, the next year you'll collect it and you'll see it, any unreceived balance. The next year is called trustees collection prior year. After that next year, in March, if it's not collected, it gets turned over to Chancery, and then Chancery collects it. That's the third one, master collection. But going back to the current property tax, we budget collecting 95.5% of that levy, calculated as of today. The reason why it ends up being more, and it becomes a hedge, is in the last few, that's if you remember looking at those revenue, I'm showing you how much of that levy is collected. So just kind of in your mind, you know that we budgeted 95.5, but he's typically 96, 97. We had a reappraisal, and if anybody is disputing it, they come and pay, and so it's reflecting as a pay. If there is a settlement, it's paid out into another year. So while we budget 94.5, we've got it, we'll do it again next year. It's that hedge if we have to pay back any of a prior year. All that's done before it's turned into to us as being the number. But typically, that's where our hedge in our revenue budget lies.
You did say 95.
It's 4.5% uncollectible, so 95.5 collected is what we budget. So when we see that number, once it tips over 95, it's like, okay, we're okay. Okay. And that's that. Okay, you ready to go to the next one?
I am.
So you've got a new sheet with
That's
the
the
new
one.
numbers, and all those that we've just improved. If you look at the, let's see, the one that's headed 5/28/2019, the 18-19 revenue estimate improvements, those numbers that we've just approved have dropped down into that column. And improves our beginning unassigned fund balance, and it flows right on through. No, I've got a code right here. So where we stand right now is our fund balance with the appropriations of $111,708,000 for the general fund. Using the fund balance, where we would be at 19.8% fund balance.
So just to be clear for me,
Yes.
the projections that were made beginning of this current year, we collected almost $21 million
More than
what you
what we
what was
had
predicted.
estimated. All those hundreds of different revenues.
Right,
Yes.
I got you.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm saying. And as you noted, Commissioner Dodd, ambulance now has a positive $126,000. That's still, to me, too low.
Is that reflected on these sheets here?
Yes, those are the individual
Okay.
sheets.
Okay.
Yes.
It's still a pretty amazing swing.
It is.
It is. And you saw it all along. I mean, when we talk about not debt service, development tax age, that half of development tax goes straight to debt service. And so that's one reason why that has increased. Interest expense, Commissioner, not interest income. Trustee talked about each month how much we have improved over the prior year. So when you have, sometimes it's double the amount of interest. It doesn't sound like a lot, just taking a few basis points, but it's double the basis points we had last year, so.
So on that particular fund that you've got for the ambulances now, 126,253. The problem with that number though is still making payroll, is that correct?
Well, to me, we do have, we're estimating starting the fund balance, starting the year with $2 million, so, we'll have some, but as you get through the end of the year. And full disclosure is that these numbers should still improve based on what's not going to be spent. And we still have a month to spend.
So
It's
this,
hard to estimate that.
so this almost $21 million could get larger,
Yes.
more than likely, in
Yes.
June.
Yes. Yes. You remember, Commissioner Jernigan always says, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. But in our budget, we budget what they think they're going to spend. We budget 100% employment, all positions, because we have to. It's in our resolution. So when you look at that, I've got, and that's your in total. This is also going to be our play sheet. Accumulating, I've given you, this is what the property tax is. This is what the proposed tonight, what we're going to walk out tonight, and what we're going to publish, tax rate for our public hearing. That's what we're working on now. I've got this sheet, if you will find this, because there's always changes.
So basically, you're looking at appropriation of $642,533,887,
Yes.
and the estimated revenue is 603, so we look at about 38 million. 38 shortfall.
Yes.
Met by fund balance in this
Scenario.
presentation.
Yes. Education capital projects, again, the same kind of problem as ambulance. If it drives them down to 213, that means that next year they're not going to be able to start projects. They're going to have to build their balances back.
Start
before
year with 213.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's like when
That's kind of how we look at it. Start the year with 213.
start the next year with 213. That's not enough money to do the projects, waiting on, say, $4 million to come in. They'll be behind a year. Or at least a half a year to have the money in the fund.
Commissioner Johnson.
So Lisa, what you have here is the balance revenue to appropriation, 35 cents.
45 cents. And that number comes up to every one of those single sheets. I've tried to come up and give that to you. To balance revenue to expense, not using fund balance, you would need 45 cents.
Okay. What would be the least amount of tax increase without any discomfort to the fund balance drawn down on the fund?
With discomfort is drawing down those fund balances, moving money out of debt service, because you are at 95%, moving that out of debt service and taking care of those two funds, the ambulance and educational capital projects. that, I think it was 2.8 cents in education projects, what they were looking at. I keep saying 2 cents to ambulance, that's 4.8 cents coming out of debt service. That's around about 4.6 million drawing the fund balance down out of debt service. Then as I've shown you before, what does that mean? So you do that, that gets us past 1 year. What are we gonna borrow?
Okay. What's needed to match the revenue for the appropriation?
To match it is 45 cents.
Okay. But what, that 45,
So you're
403?
that's kind of what I was talking about when we were here. Worst case scenario is that we're gonna rob debt service to cover those two funds. I don't wanna say that's the worst, but worst, I guess, is trying to raise property tax 45 cents without taking some consideration of these fund balances that we have that we can use. That's why I kind of threw out somewhere in the middle. Could we land to not have to use all our fund balances?
Let me ask
To take us into next
you, let
year.
me ask you a what-if question.
Okay.
Okay. 45.03, and of course, the city is coming up with a 39%. Okay. In your humble estimation, what could you do with a 20-cent tax increase, cutting it more than in half?
20 cents?
20 cents, what would
I get to be queen again?
20 cents, so that would make the rate then $2.2994.
$2.29.
$2
I would still do 2 cents to the ambulance. I'd do the 2.8 to the capital projects. And then I would split the rest. I would love to have, just because, 7 cents. And have the balance into GPS.
This will not be touching any ending fund balance.
It will be. It's that in between. It's that in between.
It's halfway. All right.
Yes.
That would still leave us a healthy ending fund balance.
But if we had, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, if we were to take fund balance and not have a property tax increase this year, that takes us down, we're at 31 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, and that takes us down to about 15, a little over 15 million.
Sorry. Say it again.
Okay, so if we were at about 31 million ending fund balance, or ending fund, if we took half of that, that would take us down to 15, but we would have no property tax increase.
Right, if you did that.
If you do that, but where are you next year? And what happens if the economy goes south? That just scares me to death to get down that low on, we're healthy now, but then you got to come back and double. So if what you're proposing is to take half of that, okay, instead of the 15, take it down to 7, right?
The 15.
If we're at 31, take about 15 out of that, so half of that.
38.
38, right.
38.
Okay.
Looking at it globally.
Pennies,
The penny.
still.
The next time I will make a change to the penny is in June 14th. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be up or if it'll be down, but that's the number we'll go with.
But tonight, you've got to come with some number. Whether it's a 0 or 20 or full enchilada 40.
I don't think you do
No.
that.
Oh, we can't do that.
Basically, what is the median range on the houses? 200,000, 250, or whatever. Just the median.
That, I don't know what our median is. Google. Census has that.
Have you reported on that? What is that fee, do you know?
He's got it.
Who's got it?
Rod Mitchell told me the median is $260,000.
Median is 260. Okay. If you did a 20 cents on a $250,000, what, 26?
That's fine.
250 median.
Well,
260.
260, but I had
Came up
250.
250.
Okay.
That would be an additional, with 20 cents, that's additional $125 for the year.
Per house.
So basically, that's just around $10 a month.
Yeah, $2.40 a week.
Okay. So, that's what, about $1.08 or 10 cents a week, something like that?
$2.40.
Okay, that one,
$2.40.
$2.40, okay. So, okay, looking at it from a logical standpoint,
260 is $2.
two people living in this house paying $2.40 a week. And this would affect me, but I feel like at $2.40, $1.20 for my wife, and $1.20 for me, for the services that we require, the ambulance and the emergency personnel that are trained and equipped. I feel like my wife's life is a whole lot more worth than $1.20 a week. Now, mine may be in question a little bit.
I get
You know, I
you.
mean, that's kind of like the question, how high is up? You know, so you can judge me on that, but I feel like my wife's life is worth a whole lot more than $1.20 a week to me for these services. And I have talked to quite a few people around the county and in my area, and it's going to be affected with the city taxes also. But the 20 cent, they have no heartache and woe with it, because you know, they realize the benefits that they're getting from it. And to bring the salary schedules up equitable, to retain the people and everything, I don't have any problem with it, and I think this is the time to do it because the economy's good, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I think the economy's going to remain good. We've got a presidential election coming up next year, and I think the powers to be are not going to let the economy tank. So, and I have a reputation for being ultra conservative, but I have no problem at all with voting for a property tax increase. And I think it's time to step up to the plate.
Mr. Johnson, is your district inside the city limits?
My district is all in the city,
All in the city?
all in the city.
So your district and my district will differ tremendously, because all of mine is in the rural area. And a lot of our rural area people have larger parcels of land, and it's going to affect them a whole lot more than it will somebody living in the city. Would you not think so?
Yeah, I'm thinking the city taxes getting ready to.
Well, what I'm talking about is the assessed value. The median range is $250,000.
Inside the city?
Well, period. So, see, I have the privilege of paying the same property tax rate. I'll be paying the same property tax rate in the city that I do in the county, because the city automatically accepts the appraisal for the county and the property tax rate. Am
Yeah,
I
so that's
correct?
going up, and so is your water and sewer in the city also, right?
get her to bump that up.
I wonder what the average Greenbelt parcel, I wonder how that jives.
I don't know, you take somebody with a modest home, 100 acres of land, it's pretty high, mine's high. We've got a 120-acre farm. It's ridiculous.
That kind
It
of-
will affect me more than $1 and something.
Well,
There's no doubt.
your land is worth more than that, and then when we turn around and pay $42,500 an acre for schools, you know, if they value that land, you know, if you dance, you gotta pay the fiddler. You know, and I'm only one of 21, but, hey, I can live with you, and I don't think anybody's gonna hang me from the cupola out here for proposing that. If they do, I'm ready to go. Get a good strong rope.
One thing I wanted to mention is whatever we come up with tonight is a proposal for the public hearing. You know, then after we hear from the public, we'll be able to tweak this.
Exactly.
So
This is
anything
going to be a
that's
starting
proposed
point.
tonight, the goal before we leave here tonight, before we're gonna let you go, is you just decide to resign and walk out of here, is we're gonna have to come up with a rate to publish. And I assume that you're proposing that as the tax rate. And I'll accept that as a
If that-
motion.
If that
that's
needs to
what
be
you-
in the form of a motion, I will make that motion.
Okay.
And I think we ought to be strong enough, excuse me,
I'm sorry.
So what was the annual total? We dropped down to the dollar. What was the annual total increase? You said it was 130? The increase, the 20-cent increase annualized was how much for a year?
Oh, the annualized increase for a 200,
Did you do 50 or 60?
I did, well, I ended up with the other one. At 260, it was $2.50 per week instead of 240.
125.
That's the number I was trying to figure out.
$130, yeah.
130. That 130 is the calculation I got. So I just wanted to make sure.
this has just got to be a starting point that we, for a goal that we can look at. It can always be tweaked after the public hearing, and then we have another meeting to adjust if we need to make any adjustments. But I will certainly make that motion.
Okay, we do have a motion.
Is there a breakdown of that motion? Of 20 cents by fund?
You want to go with 7 cents general fund, 2 cents ambulance, 2.8 school capital, and 8.2 schools?
Dropping it, what, 17 cents?
That's 20 cents.
20 cents. Okay.
52.
Run through those again.
7 for the general fund, 2 for the ambulance, 2.8 for school capital projects, 8.2 general purpose school.
That comes up to the 20 cents, correct?
Yes, so you, another way to look at it, 11 cents for schools, 9 cents for county staff.
And nothing for highway
Highway's fine,
and debt service,
debt service is fine.
there's nothing.
Because that would be helping the school system to address their capital projects, correct? Okay. That will bring it back up basically to the
To that
7.5
7.5.
that the Health and Ed approved in the original budget, right?
That's right.
Okay, we do have a motion, and you've heard the breakdown there. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, have another second. We do have a second. Now discussion, please.
Steve, I understand how to do my districts in the city as well, so I understand how to quickly deal with the impact of an average dwelling at 260. I wonder what the average impact of an average 100-acre farm is. I don't know how to,
Well,
20 cents on,
my farm is 123 acres, and I have a modest home. My taxes run around $1,200 a year on that, and I am in the green belt. So that kind of gives you an idea. And my house would probably fall a little under that 260 range, or maybe more. I think it's assessed more.
What credit is it for Greenbelt, percentage-wise?
I'd say at
Pretty
least 100
substantial.
acres of it is Greenbelt.
Because that
Excuse me.
1,200 is similar to the median $260,000 house. Because
Right.
they pay about 1,200 as well, so
Right. But, you know,
it
when
might
you
be a
got,
similar increase.
right, but of course, I've got cedar trees and rocks, and he may have good tillable
Good,
land.
totally.
Sorry.
What did you say your present county taxes are?
Don't quote me exact, but it's around 1,200 a year.
Okay.
That's with the Greenbelt applied.
Okay. I live off of St. Andrews over there, and I jokingly refer to it as the projects, but it's
Your neighbors
condo
won't like that,
association.
yeah.
Our taxes are $1,285, and I'm looking at maybe $150, $160 more, whatever, but, you know,
The county and the
I
city.
don't think it's all out of kilter.
Well, I just did a similar calculation out of concern for my constituents because my entire area is inside the municipality of Smyrna, and it's a very retail-heavy area, very commercial-heavy area. So if you had a $500,000 property and you're taxed at 40% tax rate, you're going up $400 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
When you said 400, is that because it was commercial? Some of
because
it
it's more
don't?
taxed at 40%, right? So I'm thinking the extreme, on the other end, you know, what would it be? So I think I can sell that.
$33 a month.
Yeah.
How will this tax rate affect apartments?
Apartments are at that 40%, so, you know, people say, oh, they get off. We're not, you know, they don't have to pay property tax, but that property tax, that 40% is wrapped up into
And
that
rental.
rental payment.
Everything, a quadruplex and up is 40%. I think the triplex stays at the 25, so any,
Triplex, I was thinking.
I think it's a duplex.
It's a duplex.
It's a duplex. Now, if the owner,
the owner-
that was, I understand, if the owner doesn't live at the duplex.
It's
one of the units,
40%.
It's 40%.
It's 40%.
So that's as I
so
understand.
even duplexes then, it's even.
Also, there's a misnomer about apartments, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? John Q LLC comes in here and builds a 500, let's say, a 200-unit apartment complex. He's paying $1,500 per unit,
Per unit
okay?
on development.
So they're paying their fair share because the apartment dweller is gonna pay for that. But now his residence, so to speak, is assessed at 40%, you know, so, yeah.
Is this the only avenue to take to get this money, is to raise the property tax? Is there no other option?
Wheel tax.
And what would it have to be raised to get Mr. Johnson's 20%?
Okay, I have to think about it. I used to know this off the top of my head.
I hear it all the time, people complain in the rural areas, we don't get nothing for our tax money. You know, put it on a wheel tax. Everybody pays that. You know, they got a legitimate right.
You know, I guess I always feel like, you know, you don't get anything, but
Well, that's
I
something
think
that
you
needs to be
get
published in the newspaper,
I think
what
you
they
get-
actually get for their property tax. A list of
a safe
stuff.
community. A safe community.
That would be something for Mr. Scott to print in the newspaper, what the public gets for their property tax.
We have
And if people would want it.
an educated society.
Schools,
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's not ambulance,
fire, police,
fire, I mean,
recycling centers,
a judicial.
a judicial system,
Highways you can drive on.
Well, I may be,
roads. Yes.
hey, I may be a little bit selfish, but if I'm out here, out in the county, and some idiot runs over me, and I'm laying there on a life or death situation, and the ambulance company, or the ambulance service comes to get me, I want people to be qualified with the equipment. I want them to take care of me, and if it's $1.50 a week extra for me, I'll get me another job to do it if I have to. You know, I mean, it's just a matter of where your priorities are. You know, so, and I'm through preaching.
My daughter, who recently moved to Florida, called me the other day, and she just got her new plates, and they were $400. So, kind of give you a difference. I know some states they're prorated. I hear a lot of people moving here from out of state, they look at our tags and they laugh, you know, from what they were paying. I know my father-in-law was paying about $700 a year for a van in Iowa.
And our wheel tax is on a just average car, $52?
$50.
$50, not $250 tax, so $50.
Yeah.
Steve, and there's,
Okay. My way of like doing this, for every $10 on the wheel tax will generate kind of the equivalent to 2.4 cents on the property tax rate.
Say that again.
For every $10 of wheel tax, the equivalent of the property tax is 2.4 cents.
So, looking, if you raise the wheel tax $50 more, okay, this formula still applies. 30% goes to the general fund, 30% goes to the highway department, and 40% goes to the school fund. So it would not be all going to the
You'd
general
have
fund.
to change the resolution. You'd have to, and wheel tax is not just you say we're gonna do it. I mean, there's a process.
Does it require a
Those that
referendum?
have been here,
Yes.
one does a referendum, one is like so many readings.
Yeah.
It's not the easy one to do.
but $10 would reduce this tax motion by
2 cents.
2.5 cents.
An increase of $10 on the wheel
Yeah,
tax.
would reduce,
$2.
would pay for the education capital project.
But the problem is getting it done.
And that process is too late to get started. By the time you get on the next election.
It'll take you a year to get it done.
Who've been
Lisa
around
said it'd take a year to get done because you
Yeah,
have to
you
take
have
it
to
through
put on the next
legislation.
election, and then what if it fails?
Legislation, it's not that
Well, you
goes
have to, she said it would take a year to get it done. I just asked her, to get the.
But I'm saying just, it's either, it's like two different ways. One is you could put it out for public referendum, and if they voted it, that's one way. But the other one is so many readings, I thought. Those that have been around.
Readings and
it was
public
here,
hearings, readings and public hearings, that's how, in lieu of a referendum, it's an opportunity for a
Something
public
like that.
hearing.
Don't quote me. Where's Scott? He probably remembers. Scott wrote.
Scott, Lisa's asking you a question.
Well, in 2000,
Remember how to,
in 2000, the wheel tax was raised $20, and we voted, the county commission voted on that. We didn't put it on a referendum. It was carried by 2 votes, 2/3 majority.
2 votes?
two different votes
Two
on it.
commission votes.
Took 2 months.
Yeah.
3 months.
And give you an example, that $20 increase on the wheel tax, what the education got, $8 of that. Okay, that equates out to about, that $20 was about $1.50 a month. That formula for the school system over the 19-year period, and it passed 20-1 when we voted on it in the commission in 2000. Conservatively speaking.
I know who the one was.
Sir,
I know who the one was.
I'll not call any names, but he knows who he is. It passed 21. But that $1.50 a month has conservatively brought in enough money probably to build at least 2 elementary schools at an average, at a good price. So, but I mean that's an avenue, but it was controversial at that time. But then you look at it from the standpoint, some of the states have what's called an ad valorem tax, the value of the vehicle. the people that are moving in here, they're getting a bargain on their wheel tax when they're paying $500 and $600 a year for their tags in Georgia and Alabama and some of the surrounding states. So
It's based on
that is
the
an
value of the
avenue,
car.
but this is,
What's $10 worth? 2 point what pennies?
2.4.
I knew you had
okay.
it covered.
Lisa, how much would the wheel tax have to go up to generate this revenue to make it?
Well, 20,
$80.
14.
20 cents divided by 4 is like, I mean,
$90.
Is that 2.4 pennies?
2.4 pennies. So you
Tax
get 10 of them.
Budget pennies or real
10,
pennies?
10 times 10 is $100.
That's what I'm asking. Is it a different pennies?
So your wheel tax is double,
$90.
from 50 to 100.
That's correct, to
Should be that.
There's 3 ways to pass a wheel tax,
Thank you. I thought-
according to CTES.
Do what?
By
Sheriff's got two.
passage of a resolution by 2/3 of the vote of the county legislative body at 2 consecutive regular county legislative body meetings. By passage of a resolution by the county legislative body by a regular majority with approval and referendum provided for in the resolution, or by private act.
I believe my memory served me right.
Notwithstanding a population classification exception, the 2/3 majority resolution method is subject to a referendum if a petition signed by a number of registered voters equal to 10% of the number of voters in the last gubernatorial election is filed with the county election commission within 30 days of passage. That's how you do it.
I'll reiterate that. I believe my memory served me right.
Steve, I wonder if that provides an avenue for some of your constituents. Consider that.
Well, sure, if it's just $100 addition
To reduce.
versus probably putting $300, $400 more on their farm tax, of course, it would be better for them. It'll affect Mr. Johnson a little, because $100 wasn't, what was it,
Cars did it.
it's still gonna save you 26. So look what it'll save somebody with $1 million operation, or the commercial rate.
I just wish I was paying income tax on $1 million. I'd be glad to do it.
Not in Tennessee, brother.
So, for that to be an option, you said it's got to be at 2 consecutive regular meetings, which means we couldn't do a call. So, although we have 2 regular meetings
You do. You
in
have
June.
June 6 and June 26. Well, not June 6.
Right, I know what you're
We have next week, whatever that
Right.
next one is, and June 26.
27.
Of course, we're gonna be losing probably $300,000 when the emissions goes out. So there's, the last count I had 2 years ago, there was 240,000 registered vehicles in the county. And I know it's going up more than that, so we're gonna be losing $300,000 at least. Am I right, Lisa?
And then on
When-
top of
when the
that,
emission-
Lisa may chime in on is raising it that much, how much then drives people on the borders to go
Registered
somewhere
voter
else
count.
to get their tag.
The 2 consecutive meetings is subject to a petition too, so if you have a 10% of the voters in the last gubernatorial election produce a resolution, then it has to go to referendum.
We have to get it together pretty fast, since we've got 2 meetings in 1 month.
It's filed within 30 days of passage. So
Mayor?
But, Mr. Chairman, can we ask Lisa, that kind of brings up a point. I'd like to hear your concerns about that too. Do you feel like we still have a lot of leakage, people going to Warren County, getting their tags up there because they don't have to pay emissions? I've seen a lot of Warren County tags here, and I believe the clerk is still one that's been there for a number of years. He said they'll self-tag anybody that comes into this county.
In Warren?
In Warren County.
Warren.
Warren.
Well, Cannon County's wheel tax is 25 cents cheaper than Rutherford. However, they don't have emissions. Coffee County doesn't have wheel tax or emissions. So there are surrounding counties, if they provide an address, they're going to renew those tags. I do have a working relationship with the surrounding county clerks, And if they suspect that that's what's happened, they'll confirm, but at the same time, they can't catch them all. I see a lot of Coffee County, and I understand why. I mean, there is no emissions and there's no wheel tax.
So I've got a friend, they can use that address.
But they have to have an address of some kind.
Yes, they do.
How do you scale that?
I'm sorry?
How would one just acquire,
Water bill.
take somebody else's water bill?
Yeah, let's steal water.
They have a lot.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, you know, Bedford County Clerk, you know, we have a good working relationship. There's some roads that's right on the line that they think is Bedford County, or they think that they can disguise as Bedford County. Now, she'll confirm through the Register of Deeds office to make sure that it is Bedford County. And if it's Rutherford County, she won't renew that. But that's not every situation with every county. Yes, I know we lose revenue. It's just the nature of it. But emissions, I feel like, causes a lot of that. But
But you think it'll increase to go to 100.
Here's a suggestion along those lines. It won't, again, it won't catch everybody, you're right. But so that children go to their zone school, when they check in at registration, they have to produce a utility bill. There was a time when I helped run the registration at Thurman Francis, and I don't remember why we did it, but we made them bring in their registration for their vehicle. And so we checked everybody off, and they knew they had to walk in the door with it. So at some point that went away, but if we're having to raise these taxes to build schools, then I think you dang well ought to be able to check it at registration. I mean, that's just one more thing.
The common rule of thing is, some things are not enforceable, and I think that one fell by the wayside. It just wasn't practical to do it that way. I think that was the rationale.
I'm just
Somebody
saying-
correct me if I'm wrong.
Wheel tax officer, MR.
So what I'm saying, I sat at the table and checked parents in, and they went out and got their tags, or they didn't come back in. So, just saying. It's a little something that forces people to be somewhat honest.
It's just more of a fair equal tax.
Oh, sure.
You know, than keep, our property owners can't keep supporting the cost of our growth. There's no way they can.
The cost of what?
Our growth. There's no way they can.
Well, speaking for the one that didn't vote for it last time, the reason for that was the people in my district paid the wheel tax. And you tell me why. Well, I know why. It's when it was originally proposed.
Supposed to
It
go
was
away.
proposed that it would go away. Now, it actually did go away, but it resurrected very quickly. And those guys got long memories, and they really don't like that
I
tax.
think they realize now it's not going away, don't you?
I would think so, but like I say, that was the reason why. Is I was listening to the folks in my district and said, no, we don't want this.
We got a motion in a second.
We do have.
I call for the question.
Okay. We'll vote on whether we're going to call for the question. I think that'd be fair. That's all right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Any opposed? One no. Okay. Well, looks like we're going to dispense with any other discussion and have a roll call vote, please.
Well, hang on, I'm wrestling with my second. I was the second, and I'm just wrestling with it because we didn't talk about wheel tax. We hadn't really gone down that road, and I just want to make 100% sure we're done talking about wheel tax. We're for sure that's not anything we want to explore.
I think we still have that option. I mean, we're basically trying to get something out there for publication revenues. I fully intend for us to dig into this a lot further.
Okay.
I personally don't think this will stand. I think that we'll be able to whittle that down, and whether we go to remains in property tax or we look at wheel tax, we still have those options. This is not something set in stone, but we have to, tonight, have something for the public to look at. And that's what my aim is, to get something she could publish and say, hey, here's how it's going to affect you as an individual here. And if you have questions, you can come to this public hearing and air those in.
I think as long as we do our due diligence behind the scenes to see if that's something that is even a possibility, or, you know, time-wise, et cetera, then you can have my second.
Okay.
Can you call the roll on the, calling for the question, please?
Please call the roll on it.
Commissioner Allen?
Call for the question?
Yes. Commissioner Dodd? This is calling for the question.
Yes.
Mr. Gooch?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah.
Mr. Pearson?
No.
Mr. Peak?
Yes.
4-2, passes.
Motion carries. So, any other, well, we're through with discussion now. Go ahead and call roll on the motion.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Gooch?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
No.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. 4-2, motion carries. So, we know what we're going to be publishing, and if you want to repeat that breakdown for everybody here. My phone there was,
Okay, it adds 20 cents, adds 7 to the general, 2 to ambulance, 2.8 to school capital projects, and 8.2 to general purpose school.
gives us a total. All right,
Now, before we go any further, how do we ensure that we can bring the property tax discussion back to this committee? I mean, the
Because-
wheel tax.
Oh, well, I think y'all need to, if y'all are going down that road, they need to put something out there next Thursday
our next,
to have the vote on the first.
right, our next meeting will be on, what, 6th?
6th, next Thursday.
Next Thursday, a week from today. So at that time, we can, if we desire to look at the tax, wheel tax, at that time, we can make a motion and send that to the full commission. That's the only way we're going to get it in on the deadline.
Yeah, you have to
address
do it on the
then.
13th and then approve it again on the 26th.
But wasn't this initiated in the steering committee beginning?
You're talking about.
Didn't it
wheel tax?
originate in the steering committee
13, 26.
and then went on the budget?
Those are two
And then
commission
went on
meetings.
to the full commission? If my memory serves me right,
It did last time.
okay.
Or at least
It
that's
originated
what
in
I
the steering
believe.
committee and went to budget and then went to full commission.
Mr. Chairman, could it originate here with a motion tonight to consider an alternative or a relief to a 20-cent tax, a $10 wheel tax or something to that effect? Could it come from here
To go to steering?
and go to full commission on the 13th?
His question is the same one I'm thinking. Does it have to originate with another committee, or can that idea originate from this committee?
And give Steve some assurance it's on the agenda for
You got time to make it.
the 13th.
You still got time to go to steering.
Yeah, we could forward a motion to steering, definitely could do that. I personally, and I wish our attorney was sitting here with us in case we had a question, but I would assume that we could. But normally, we try to go through, step by step through the committees, and we got time to do that too. And she said we could send something to steering, and if steering doesn't do what we would like to see, we still have the opportunity on the 6th to look at it, and then we can get some feedback from our attorney during that time too.
I think just floating the idea tonight, you're going to get feedback from your constituents also.
June 6th.
Which one you like.
And when is our next budget?
Budget committee. Steve, would you be comfortable bringing it up now, or bringing it up to 6, or posing it to steering? When's their meeting?
They usually meet
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
We've got time to get it through the due process it needs to go through. That's the way it needs to
Just
go.
started at steering?
Yeah. And if we don't,
We're going to
say
bring
we
it
do,
up.
right?
That's what I was looking at. I mean, you could send the recommendation to steering. That's where it usually originates. Monday, put it on their agenda, then come to us on the.
I vividly remember it coming through the steering committee, because I was on the steering committee at that time, and none of the other members of the steering committee had the intestinal fortitude to bring it forward full commission, and I bit the bullet and took it forward full commission. I remember that vividly, and that's been 19 years ago. You remember, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was traumatic.
I may be 81, but my memory's not failing.
Hey, here's what I wonder though, when the other committees are recommending bodies to this committee, and we're the ones that make the financial recommendations. And so there's just part of me that wonders, and I appreciate the due diligence of just having another committee look at it, but I'm just not sure that it has to originate from somewhere else. I'm just wondering if it can't originate from here.
I don't think that it has to, in my opinion.
I concur. I don't think it has to, but I prefer to go through the committee process, and we've got time to.
Does steering always generate tax or will tax, or why steering
No,
for that one?
it's a-
It's legislative.
Governance and legislature.
Governance.
Okay, I see.
Procedure.
That's the function of the steering and legislative committee.
Can
Have no authority over
steering
the dollar.
recommend not to send it to budget?
Yes.
They did in Paul's experience.
Yep.
It'll die right there.
And he
Well,
had-
didn't he?
Or if he brings it up on the floor.
You gonna do it again?
Well, yes, I'd be willing to do it again. You know, whatever it takes to get this budget passed and address the situation that needs to be addressed, I'm willing to do it. You know, because like I said, I'm 81 years of age. I don't have a whole lot many more years left.
You can't predict that.
But it's just the right thing to do. That, you know, that's the way I look at it. You know.
Okay, so we've got a proposal to send this, or I'll listen to a motion, if there's a motion out there to forward this to steering and ask for their input to come back to us on the 6th when we meet at our next committee. So do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Piercy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dodd. Is there any other discussion on that?
Well, I'm just curious, we just voted to increase property taxes 20 cents, and now we're going to vote to increase with the wheel tax. How much, what was the motion again?
We
You're
didn't
voting
have
on
a
another
motion.
option.
Uh,
You're voting on another option.
Well, we're voting on the wheel tax.
That's correct.
To
And how
explore.
much of the wheel tax do we put in the motion? Just to look at it, or to raise it $10 or what?
to get that number to steering about today.
Yeah.
So we're going to
I
vote
think
to,
that's, I guess that it, you know, or is it a combination? Did you have a combination of property tax and?
well, so there's no number on the wheel tax?
Let me clarify my second, because I need to understand that too, because so I understand. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, you're welcome.
I seconded, the pathway of the conversation was to have the wheel tax as an alternative to
To the 20
to the
cents.
20
Equal
cent
to the 20 cents, that's
solar.
correct.
So I would only consider wheel tax if it reduces the property tax by
As a supplement,
some equal
yeah.
amount. So we need to get that in the motion.
Well, okay, read the motion, please.
That's what Commissioner Dodd said. I mean, that's what I had. I understood it to be, we're replacing what we just voted on, the 20 cents, with a wheel tax as opposed to a property tax. That's what we've been discussing. That's
Did
what
you agree? Is
Commissioner
that how
Piercy,
you?
that was Commissioner Piercy's question. What can we do as an alternative to this property tax increase?
Yeah, it's an alternative, it's not both. It could be a combination of
So to
parts.
double the wheel tax.
Yeah.
And Lisa, you don't have a hard number on what that wheel tax figure would be to be equivalent to the 20 cents.
I hate to just do that really quick. You know,
Okay,
I'm just
well-
using some old files.
Could you be available though to at the steering committee meeting to walk them through this exercise so that they understand where we're trying to locate this much revenue? And help us figure out what's the most equitable way to identify where that revenue is going to come from. And if it's going to be wheel tax, this is what it will mean. If it's going to be property tax, this is what it's going to mean. And get them to make a recommendation if they want us to consider one or the other, or a blend of the two.
Right.
So in my mind, it was not going to be an absolute one or the other. It was going to be that conversation of where do we capture this revenue? What are the sources? Was that not your motion?
And you have no assurance that if it comes out of the steering committee, for a wheel tax increase, have no assurance that that'll pass because hue and cry from the people out here that's got 40 and 50 vehicles will be tremendous. It was before.
I still think, even if it doesn't come out of steering, you could still bring it back out of budget and send it on to the floor.
And then we'll have our attorney check on that just to be sure, but I feel like that's true too.
So it wouldn't go there and die if it doesn't come out of steering.
I mean, we still have the 6. If we did choose
That's
to make our
correct.
own recommendation,
That's correct.
we could still recommend it.
Or a combination.
Right.
But for publication and what we're sending to the, and what we will be speaking to at the public hearing is 20 cents.
20.
Yes. And we've already voted on that, so I mean, that's passed. Now, what we're talking about now, we've got a motion and a second, and we're sending this to steering for them to evaluate
Consider it as an alternative
as an alternative.
in addition to maybe any increase that's necessary for the property tax. 'Cause the wheel tax is not going to be enough alone to carry this burden.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Peay?
Yes. Motion carries. And just so, to let you know, my memory is right there with you. When this came out of steering, you had 21 votes because we had said the stipulation was there that it would be a referendum. When it came to the full commission floor, the motion was changed so that there would not be a referendum. And that's where you lost your one vote.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they voted not to do a referendum.
Right.
Yeah.
so, Lisa,
We need to talk about the general fund. If you would pull your new sheet on the general fund, and this one. Don't get rid of this one, we want to talk about it. Like I said, everything is set in stone. But starting with the mayor's recommendation of $112,137,021, as we were going through, if you remember our discussion on property casualty insurance, we did have a reduction of $428,518. That brings the number down to $111,708,503. That's on your long sheet. But we've got some changes. Starting at the top, I have a revenue and appropriation change. This affects the sheriff's department and fire. It is for their law enforcement training that the state pays. They pay that gets signed, I hope. Did it get signed? Yeah, it did sign though and everything. Okay. It was $600 per officer. It's going to $800. The state will pay the $800, but the county has to pay the benefits associated with it. So that's why these two numbers are not going to agree. The bottom numbers has the benefits added to it. So I need to increase law enforcement training, the revenue, by $53,400. I need to increase fire by $9,940, and the sheriff $53,245. That one. Some things that has arisen was to co-locate the dispatch to the city, and that estimated cost is at $150. Y'all can vote them, all these are separately or however, but I'm just going to lay it all out there. What came through public safety last night was to add $50,000 to the volunteer fire departments to increase each of those by 10. The other item is the one that the hotel motel tax audit. I am just estimating $45,000 to go into the county clerk's budget. There are 71 different hotel motels spread around the county. You can see how that spreads out. At this time, I'm not sure how many that we do. If we go alone, it's anywhere $1,000 to $1,200 per hotel, and we go back 3 years. So if there's anything due, they will owe it plus, where's Lisa, interest. So looking at that, 45,000, that would do 45 of them.
Can I ask one
If
question?
we are,
One question to Lisa. We ever heard anything from Airbnb?
No, we haven't.
That's an expenditure, 1,000.
it-
45 of them, but that's
if
part
we
of
did,
this
if we
audit.
did it, but if we
We don't have a
go
listing
with the
of
city to do it, it drops down to
Airbnb
800.
locations.
When you look those up, it doesn't give you the addresses. So,
I wonder if there's some way this audit could incorporate those.
I'm not sure, but right now, it's just a number I'm requesting in the budget
All right, that's something.
to at least have something to start.
Knox County and Hamilton County, I think maybe I need to talk with them a little bit more
If
in
you
depth.
if you could do that before we start this on. Thank you.
I mean, there's got to be a corporation that facilitates those payments. So there's got to be a corporation that facilitates those
Here in
payments.
California.
And I'm just the wondering, is there, you know,
Well,
They
I've
don't
made
have
2
to-
requests through their lobbyist in Nashville to have them send the information to Lisa.
And I've actually made 4 requests trying to get a
Yeah.
copy of the agreement, and
I know
we're not getting it.
just during the NFL draft, we were
right?
slammed. From what I heard through the grapevine, that everybody's going to Mercersburg because they still have the Airbnbs available, but they're not paying their fair share.
Maybe we should test Nick's skills at a strongly worded letter.
Okay.
I am in favor of having the audits. I feel like that, the time has come, that some type of procedure needs to be in place. I know that the cities have been practicing this with the auditors, and it's proved successful. And in my personal opinion, I think Rutherford County itself is ready to take that step. And then if we can get Airbnb, that would just be a bonus on top.
Question, Mark, were you at the city when they,
Yeah, we did one this month when I was there. Yeah. Produced a good amount of revenue.
Okay. And you mentioned that this is $1,000, and it goes back 3 years, but if we go in conjunction with one of the other municipalities, I assume.
it drops to 800?
Okay. So there's that possibility too, but this is just a number to start with, something we can work, and then, whether it's Airbnb or, one of these 71 listed hotels, depending on what jurisdiction it's in, we might make it partner or get more audits in.
If we take over the partner, then we have to share the results.
Each government is their own separate one. We're not sharing. Like I say, if they did not report the revenue correctly to us, then they pay what is due us plus interest. Then they audit against the city's requirements, and they have to pay that to the city. It's not a share. I mean, that's why it's not half the cost, because they're 2 separate ones. It's not a sharing. It's a sharing in their part of the labor that this is doing.
Okay.
You got one
So
other?
I didn't know how y'all want to handle that, but those are all the things that I had.
You got one other, please. The PIO.
The PIO, and when I was making the
Go ahead.
changes, I did not pick that one up, so.
Mayor?
So, Mr. Chairman, I when asked the other night by Mrs. Allen if I'd be willing to delete that. You'll see that's a negative number, the 23,311. I went back and started looking at qualifications and their job requirements under that PIO. And I've asked Sonia if she could come forward. I asked her to go back and check what all this we had in mind for that. So I'd like for her to come forward, if that's possible, for the committee to let her explain the findings. And then after that, I'd like to request the reinstatement of the 23,311.
So what I did is I took the job description that we drafted, I don't know, some months back, And I compared it, we currently have a public media relations specialist at our Paws facility, and that's Lindsay Frierson, and she does an amazing job. In fact, she sent out something tonight while we were here. And then our other public media specialist position was the one that we had at the solid waste, and that was Hannah Blaine when she was here. So I looked at that and compared to what the position we were hoping would do with the PIO, and kind of highlighted the things that were different and unique that made us, made this stand out in my mind. And really we're hoping to find a person who has had experience, television experience, because one of the primary goals of this is if we had an event that went on in the county, the tornado, a flood, anything that's a catastrophic event, or as we're going out and doing a television presence as we get deeper into the recycling and the landfill and those type things, we really want somebody who has had experience with television and has a television presence and understand what relates to that, has education and training relating to it. So when we put in the minimum qualifications for this, we put in that we wanted them to have a degree in mass communications, journalism, and those type classes. Also, it would be somebody who would be skilled in writing speeches, and in the public speaking would be making sure that they say the things that, one, would not be a liability for the county, knowing what to say and how to say it, and not to put us in a position, not meaning to, but they would say something that would put us in a position that would not be positive. So when I went back and looked, everything that I have in yellow, which is multiple things, are things that are above and beyond what somebody at this pay grade and this skill set would have exposure to. I feel like based on the survey and what I've looked at for other governmental entities for a PIO, the salary range that we've requested is in line with that. It may be that somebody has less experience. We've asked for, the position at a pay grade where we think it'll get the experience, but they may have less experience, but still meet the qualifications and the criteria of the minimum qualifications for this, so it may come in a little bit less. But I do think that this, for what we're wanting the position to do and where we're looking at for it for the future, it's really going to be at a higher skill set than the media specialist that we're looking at. And I think we would be hard pressed to find somebody with this skill set at 45, I think. It would be really hard.
What salary range are you looking at? What pay grade?
It is a 35, a pay grade 35, and I believe it was 65, 64, 155 or 65, something like that. And at a step one, it would be around 58. So, you're getting, spoke with MTSU. We had spoke with MTSU, somebody who may have had a year doing their television broadcast and things like that, what the expectation was for a salary coming out, and that was in line with somebody who would have that media, not to the same level as like a news reporter on like Channel 2, 4, somewhere like that. That's going to command a lot higher salary. We're talking $80,000, $90,000 range. But this would get us somebody who might have had some TV exposure, not quite to the same level as a professional broadcaster that's been doing it for several years.
You'd be kind of semi-competitive with this salary range.
Yes, sir. It would put us very mid-range, yes.
People wouldn't be laughing at you for offering that position.
You're not going to get
$35,000
a
year.
seasoned newscaster.
Correct.
I will say that.
Correct.
But you will get somebody that is newer in the trade.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't restore the 23,000, that puts us back to kind of the position that is currently there, just being eliminated. We want somebody that's professional, that's young, that can appeal even going into the elementary schools, talking to kids about recycling as we move forward with our waste stream issues. I think Mr. Spurlock will confirm that the one that we currently have, he had probably 6 or 7 principals that wouldn't allow that person who really wasn't qualified to do that. So that's why we're trying to bump this up to the 23,000. Members, we've worked very hard with all the different departments. when I ask all the departments to bring a needs budget and a wants budget, we've been very, very conservative in what I have brought to this committee as the mayor's recommendation. We've saved $500,000 on taking the sort truck that the fire department had because the ambulance service wanted a new sort truck, so we eliminated that $500,000. We eliminated probably 3 positions, 1 at EMA and 2 at EMS. Those positions because we were top heavy. Trying to boil it down, that's probably $400,000 easy.
Right.
I've asked every department to go in and start looking at buying from the state contracts first before they order anything. We don't have a number on that, and we probably won't until next year because they're just now beginning to do that. But we're seeing like ordering business cards from where they've been using it. A local vendor, it was $92 for 500 cards. We're getting them printed at M Tissue for $21.
Right.
Those type of savings we've implemented on a very conservative nature. So there's a lot of money that we've been able to save, and all I'm asking is to restore the $23,000 to that position.
Okay, so we've got a list, and I guess we could look at these individually. We can look at them as a whole.
Well, could I say one other
Mayor,
thing?
please go ahead.
Yeah, could I ask Sonia, I think there was a concern, Sonia, you wanted to eliminate this 23,000, give me the 45, because you wanted some of that money to go towards 2 deputies. Was part of the discussion. I think we have an answer to that, and Sonia's worked with Preble and the sheriff. Want to explain that?
So one of the positions that they have, that we've looked at, and Preble and I talked about it today, and the sheriff is in agreement. There's a sergeant's position, and if we reclassify that sergeant's position, we are able to, depending on whether it's a step 5 or a step 1, it will either be, we'll incur an additional cost to change the sergeant's positions to 2 off warrants positions. It'll either be $1,200 more, $1,200 more, or if they start in at a lower level in a step 1, which is where Preble believes for this type position it would be a savings of $2,974. So we feel like we could net 1 new position and absorb that cost. The benefits that are associated with it have already been calculated based on the higher salary, so that would cover all the benefits with the exception of insurance. And the insurance alone, Preble feels like that she'll be able, based on the positions that she has vacant now, would be able to offset that, and with the $2,900, it would probably break even. So that would help her net another position. So we went back and looked in to say, how could we do something different? So I wanted to make sure, I didn't know if this was the time to do it, but.
So that basically give them another position.
Yes, sir.
It's me.
One net new.
One for
One net.
2 for 1.
Two.
is what it-
2 for
Right.
1.
It gives
One-
us 2 for 1.
Okay.
So one net new.
One
But
net.
then we put it in that department that really needs those
Right,
2 others.
correct.
But that change can stand independent of this.
Oh, yeah, it can.
Yes.
It
I
can.
had
Yeah.
a late retirement come in, and we couldn't confirm that sergeant's retirement until recently. I didn't have time. We've always said that this would be one that we would make 2 positions with. And really, yesterday was my confirmation that, yes, bye-bye. So
We calculated what the cost would
I
be.
had to get
so-
everything together.
I guess what we'll say is since we've been in office, one of the things that we've concentrated very heavily on is looking at our top echelon and reducing top heavy, what I feel is top heavy. And we've done that, if you'll remember back, we've done that on some major positions where we eliminated those positions, and we were able to pick up what I call workers, boots on the ground and actually doing work. So we've done that. There's another position that we eliminated that we didn't need, so we moved that into some other positions, law enforcement positions. We will continue doing this, and this is another opportunity where we feel like that we had a management position that we did not need at that level and we could better utilize at a warrants clerk level. These people are, clerks is really a misnomer. They serve warrants, they write reports, so it's not a clerk per se.
We're trying to get that
Trying to get that
Yeah,
reclassified.
warrants officers, what they're reclassified to.
These are warrants officers, and they are certified, they're not certified, but they're warrants officers, and they actually serve warrants, talk to the public, and they write reports. So it's a key position in our.
So basically, they'd be gaining a new position at either a minimal cost or savings.
Yeah,
But that's-
$1,200.
but
That
that's
is
independent of
separate,
this, so they're not-
but I
they're
was
still
bringing
not
it up
related.
now. Right. But I was bringing it up because we're talking about the
But it
overall.
wasn't independent in the discussion.
Right.
The
Yes.
discussions you used was to.
Right, trying to find the money,
Yeah.
so yes,
Right.
so I'm happy you found the money,
Sure.
that's great. But the statement that you made, I guess is one of the things that I was concerned about this with the PIO, is I don't want to become top-heavy. You know, that's one of the things that I guess I'm just trying to make sure that we're, again, when we talked about, just trying to make sure every dollar is exactly where it needs to be, and we're getting the most out of every single dollar spent. And so that was kind of what my thinking was in terms of using, Steve for one thing, because you're also going to have your new public safety director who's going to do the natural disaster stuff. That's who's going to be on camera for that. So I'm just trying to stretch that dollar as far as I can.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and I've done that through this budget that I've presented to the full commission.
And to your point about that was the other thing, I took that in consideration when I pulled up Steve's job description as well, the deputy to the mayor, and also the public safety director, because I was listening to what you were saying and trying to make sure how does that fold in. And when I think of the public safety, not that, I don't know what his skill sets, I haven't gone back and researched that to see what it is those type, media presence is what I'm trying to say. But I would envision he's going to be, if it is a natural disaster, if we've got a tornado or something like that, he's going to be working in the East EOC. And so his time to be stopping what he's doing, then to go out and give a media presence. This person will really be the person that will be going to get the information from him to then come back and relay that to the media. And so it's a little bit different because as we get bigger, we need those type things. And with Steve, when I went back and looked at his, I looked at all the special projects that he's involved in right now. And I mean, I really see him on a daily basis and know what the things that he's got the census that he's doing right now. He's got the fleet management program. And these are, while their duties that have been assigned to him, but they're separate and above the things that he was, the other job duties of the day-to-day. The United Way campaign, while that's not every week, that is a big campaign that he does, and I had a list, but there's like 10 or 12 things that he's working on right now that are unique special projects. The fleet management. And so for him, and not to, and I told Steve I was going to say this, so not to be unkind to Steve, but being a PIO is really not his training and expertise, and that's not really
very entertaining.
And he really, I don't want to say, that wasn't really what he thought that he would be doing. Not that he couldn't get the training, but that was kind of where if we were going to have somebody to represent us at the county level, we wanted somebody that had that skill set. That was kind of what I was thinking, that would put forth the professional image of the county to represent us well, to kind of be the face and the voice of Rutherford County. So when that comes on, it's kind of like with Kroger. If you ever watch a Kroger and they're doing a press release or a special event, you're always going to see Melissa Eads. That's who you're always going to see. She is the face of Kroger when it comes to that. And so that's kind of in my mind what I'm thinking this person becomes, is the face of Rutherford County. It's who we know to expect to be out there saying this is what's going on, kind of on the steps of the courthouse, giving you a press release kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll just say in closing that $45,000, if you think that makes me top heavy and expanding $23,000 on top of that just gives me a better qualified person to develop skill sets. So I'm still going to have the 45. I would just rather for $23,000 is in this budget to give us that professional image and one voice for Rutherford County.
I would almost rather withdraw the 45 and skip the position. I think you present very well for this county. Articulate, good presence, good image. Steve has been utilized in a completely new way than this commission has seen. We're used to seeing previous administration and ones before.
Well,
And, you know, we didn't see Jeff Davis at all. Very, very rarely do we see the previous deputy to the mayor. So I wouldn't mind just seeing you continue to get a year under your belt with this budget. And I don't know that we need that position. I'm just not real comfortable adding another administrative position at the top.
Well, okay.
So just as a consideration.
Sure, I'll come back and counter with that, but when we get into, whenever we decide what direction we're going with our solid waste plan, it's going to take one person, if not more, dedicated to educating the public and going inside the schools, calling on Home Depot, going to Lowe's, going to all the restaurants, trying to help educate the people of how we're going to handle all this. It's going to be a large task to do that. I can't do that.
Is that your, so then it could be presented as, let's come back to a solid waste advocate. And until that position ramps up, you might utilize them in some
And that's what we
arenas.
called them, a program, it was the PIO and programs coordinator, so they would be whatever big program that we had going on at that time, they're the ones that's heading up the charge for it.
So if you don't want the person out there in front of the camera, we're still going to need that person doing this for the solid waste.
That does make a lot of sense to me, because
I don't feel like one person can handle it. I don't feel like one person can handle even the solid waste part by itself. How many schools do you have, Mr. Spurlock?
47.
All right, and how many weeks do we go to school? 40? Okay. There's 47 schools, 40 weeks to get there. One person can't get around. He's going to have some help.
Well,
I don't think that's
No, that's-
all that they do.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about to
Schools.
promote recycling.
I'm saying it's
gonna
gonna
be
take
quite a
more than
job.
one person to do, is what he's saying,
It's
not
going
one.
to take more than one person.
well, it is, but I'm trying to be conservative by combining the two positions instead of one. I could have come and asked for two positions, you know. But, you know, you got 47 schools. They're not going to be 8 hours a day teaching recycling and you know, going to those 47 schools.
well,
They may do well to get 30 minutes in classrooms, you know, with the 6th grade. So they can hit several schools in one day.
And some of the training is going to come from the convenience center coordinator that they've got in the convenience center. Part of that is has an education component to it as well, that when they're in the centers and they're working with the center attendants. So it's going to be, you know,
this position is going to be the convenience center coordinator.
No.
that's separate. No.
It's
Mac,
separate.
That's Mac's
that is
position.
coming.
That is good.
Well,
But
I would
that's-
almost rather, I could be a bigger advocate for, again, what's the new title?
It's a public information and programs coordinator.
Programs coordinator. I've just got a little problem with PIO. I think you guys can handle so much of this image. Perhaps that's just but it may be semantics. I really want somebody, and perhaps it's going to take $68,000 to get a solid waste coordinator to coordinate the schools. And like Steve said, that's going to be a very big operation.
It is.
And you're correct.
It's coming.
Then I want it to be presented as that.
Well,
For you to get another political officer, and again, it may be semantics. I'm having trouble with you getting another officer and layering the mayor's office.
I think we were trying to put,
Does that make sense to anybody on this committee?
But-
If I'm babbling stuff.
No, but wouldn't this program coordinator still be layering the mayor's office?
I see it layering more onto solid waste, and that just seems to be,
see,
I'm a little more comfortable with the solid waste proponent than a mayor's office proponent. And the PIO sounds like a mayor's office proponent. And again, stop me if I'm, well, don't stop me.
I've got a
I
question.
may be semantics.
Say, leaving this in as a solid waste component, are you against raising that money for this person that's in solid waste, which will be promoting the solid waste, to 23,000. That way they could actually share that person for solid waste and for the mayor.
If they're in solid waste, they still work for the mayor.
Agreed, and to Robert's point, to the chairman's point, and your very convincing information you presented, I do agree that we lowball at 45. So I think that to get this public image coordinator, programs coordinator, it would probably need to be in the 60, in the range that you're requesting.
65. I was just trying to get a feeling.
I agree.
If you would
I'm
support.
supporting your the necessity to add.
Sure.
And it would help our school superintendent, I think, tremendously. And again, it may be semantics, Mayor, and it will be under your auspices, but it just sounded so darn political. Maybe just the title political officer just disturbed me more. So I can support a $68,000 position. There's some layers that this person can work in.
And all the things that you speak to are in here.
Yes, that's what that meant. I guess I'll go back to when this idea was first presented to this committee. And my takeaway from that is, why do we have them in solid waste when they're going to be the face of this other stuff? You know,
That's what
the
we moved them
disaster
over.
and the everything. It's like, I don't understand why we're doing that.
Yeah.
Which, that's why we went the direction to put it in the general fund, because it would be doing more than just solid waste. It'd be a big component, but it's the other pieces.
That's what we heard from you guys when we brought it to budget before, is that why
And
are
my
you doing it?
transparent response to that is that I just want to be careful, given the next mayor. I don't want the mayor's position to get too heavy. That's all. I'm not doing a very good job articulating. I'm walking around. I like the 68. I understand some of the needs. I just want to be careful in providing the mayor, not Bill Ketron, but the next mayor, whoever, too many layers in the mayor's office. I just want to be cautious.
Commissioner Dodd, just another question. Would you be willing to to move this along, to make a motion to that effect, to raise that 23,313, call the position a solid waste media,
Public information.
which will also, our
programs
information
coordinator.
officer that'll work for the mayor also.
But if you put solid waste in there, then, other projects that may come up, there may be some confusion or something.
Well,
Yeah,
to-
big projects.
to clear it up, in the job description itself, it does say that that is one of the fundamental tasks of this. The others are additional duties, kind of as assigned. But to your point, those are things in there. I mean, it covers all the bases.
But if you name it something solid waste, then many people who can qualify may look at it and say, well, I'm not in the solid waste.
Right, so you've got to
But
put
they
a time.
could generally do what they're asked to do in that position.
I think a lot of times when you have, let's just say Indeed.com or Monster.com, and somebody's out in the field and they're looking, or even, we just say an MTSU student, if an MTSU student who graduated was looking for a position, I don't know that programs coordinator, we've got to have something in the title that would, when they go in and search for a position, that it's going to populate. And so I think if we just put programs coordinator, that's going to limit, I don't know how else to
The
say it.
PIO enhances
Right.
stuff.
I mean, if you call the HR director, the policy guru or something, I don't know. You know what I'm-
Coordinator.
Yeah, something like that. You're going to get different applicants based on what the title is. And so I think we have to be very cognizant of how we title it. And I think, the public information officer may be what's hanging them up, but that's really, they are providing the public with information.
Okay.
And so I think not putting in that will limit the applicants that we will receive.
I understand that. I understand that. And I beg the grace of this committee, or I thank this committee for being so graceful to allow me to process this out loud in public. And I am becoming very comfortable in supporting it as written.
So,
I just wanted to add, the place where I got the 45 was from the salary survey.
Right.
We had 40, so I padded it. You know, so I was trying to give you enough to get a better somebody, so.
And while 45 is better than what the survey is,
Yeah.
I think if you look at like even I went out and searched what a governmental, people who do these type jobs in government, for governments only, and we are, I mean, with the U.S. Census Bureau, we're right in line. I mean, we're dead set where it needs to be for that, based on the Census Bureau, and that's the most recent article that I found. And then, again, talking with MTSU, what are the trends that they're seeing for graduates who are coming out with no experience? You know, when we're looking for somebody that's at least got some time under their belt, you know, if they're going to represent a county as large as us, so.
Commissioner Dodd.
I'll make a motion to re-implement the $23,000 we reduced and allow the mayor to pursue a PIO/.
Programs coordinator.
As requested.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Piercy is second. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
No.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
yes.
Commissioner Pete?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. We've got,
Wait, she
wait.
said one other thing.
excuse me, I'll
Do
go
you,
ahead.
do you need to, don't we need to put it in the minutes about changing that position from the sheriff's office to create a new position?
We don't,
We haven't done anything with that yet. There's not a motion to that effect.
That's what I'm saying, would that need to happen now?
That-
We've got
Lisa, that-
several other things right here to discuss.
we've
too.
got a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't need to remind you about that again.
Is that situation taken care of with the sheriff's
I
department?
just didn't want us to not do it.
We've got these other items that
Okay.
are-
When is their retirement?
Oh,
June 30th?
20,
June 29th.
okay, the first thing, well, not the first thing, but the next thing on here, do we need to look at that 53,400 for the law enforcement training program? We don't have a vote on that, I don't believe.
I mean,
I mean, you can look at it in
You can
total,
look at it
because it's all
individually
general
or
fund
the rest
related.
together.
Or you can break it up individually.
However you
Well,
want to do it.
We've already voted on the last, well,
Right,
next
the
to the
last
last thing on the mayor's proposal there. So the other part, the training increase, the 53,400, the MA cost to relocate the dispatch to the city's new police station over there. Their EOC, I assume that's what that is. And then fire, $50,000 to increase the volunteers that came out of public safety last night. And then also fire for $9,940 increase, and that's for that law enforcement training. And then the city clerk, we discussed a little while ago about the hotel motel tax audit for $45,000. And then the sheriff's, a $53,245 increase for law enforcement training. And I believe that's got us. That'd be it.
308 total?
Yes.
308 total?
That's the request for all the position, for all these above 308, 185 to increase
I make a motion to
appropriations.
approve the 308, adding to the revenue addition.
And
Commissioner
revenue
Don.
53,400.
The motion, do I hear a second?
Do you want to bring into that the sheriff's positions to make that change, or?
I think we
Did they
should
just
hear that
discuss?
when it comes. Was that an official?
Yes.
I think that is a request to change a sergeant
Most definitely add that to the request.
I was gonna say, we'd have to look at it.
to two patrol,
Two warrant officers.
two warrant officers.
Pay grade 14,
Reallocating
step 5.
already funded. Yes, I include that, please.
Step 5.
Pay grade 14.
14.
Step 1.
it'll be a lower step.
Yeah, okay.
Up to step 5.
I'll go in and add
It's
that.
okay, I've heard a motion.
Second.
I hear, okay, that's what I thought. Second, Commissioner Gooch.
I have one question before we go on that.
Yes.
Would this be the time and the place to talk about if we need money for a lobbyist to try to give us some different options in Nashville? Because we're just not getting anywhere.
I would think that probably needs to go to steering, you know, because it's legislative related.
Right.
and let that be hatched there
Right.
and the merits of that.
I mean, you've got the most experience of anybody in the room. What do you think?
Well, you can pay a lobbyist and it comes down just like in here. If you don't have the majority, then you're paying that lobbyist, you don't get anything. But I do think that we have some good things coming. Like I mentioned the other night, sales tax revenue over the internet. I met with G2 Lytics on the day before yesterday in Brentwood. The mayor from Williamson County was there. Myself, former Speaker Beth Harwell, former Deputy Governor Jim Henry, and the people from G2 Lytics. They pulled up Williamson County and Rutherford County and showed that over a 3-year average, by getting this data from the Department of Revenue, that they're estimating over 3 years, $31 million in leakage, sales tax revenue leakage from Rutherford County. So we're going to approach within the next couple of weeks, if we can get an appointment with the governor, and ask the governor to allow Williamson and Rutherford to be a pilot for G2 Lytics to let them retrieve the data from the Department of Revenue, so they can crunch the numbers in their patented software algorithm that will determine and who is not, because your sales tax for all businesses are on an honor system, okay? And they pulled up 41 different categories, from used car lots to restaurants to even bookstores. Who people are not submitting, being honest with their sales tax revenue. And they're able to
Sales tax do we get?
How much sales tax do we get? Which,
They've estimated at the state level, when they first started talking to us about 2 years ago, they thought maybe the state would see 50 million in leakage and unreported sales tax revenue. Now they're estimating about 700 million in leakage, where people are not correctly reporting their sales tax. And it's not about the sales tax, it's about being fair. You know, for those who are doing it right, Commissioner, who are reporting the amount that they receive and the percentage of sales tax that are taken out for state and local, it's about being fair, because some people are just not being fair about it. And it's not right.
So they're just pocketing that money?
Yes, sir.
It's called bonus.
They're not reporting their taxable sales, is what they're not doing.
Well, so, what I understood you to say is that people are paying their sales tax to a particular company, and then they're not reporting it fairly, so some of the money they collected, they just keep it.
Especially cash.
Yeah.
You know, if you operate on a cash basis and you'll go into several restaurants, if they've got a calculator next to the cash register, and then look at the cash register and see if the drawer is not totally closed, then they have there's no record in the cash register other than what they swipe on the credit card, and many times it's not even that, because they have a little box over here. So when an auditor comes in from the Department of Revenue, it's hard to track what they've actually done. This algorithm can actually go into the back through the food wholesalers, and they can track on an average of what they've been purchasing from, let's just say, Robert Orr Cisco, coming in, and then they can track what they're reporting. Well, you're bringing in a whole lot more wholesale food. You should be preparing it for this percentage to make a profit, and you're not reporting that. Used car lots, and on and on and on. It's crazy.
Shrinkage.
Huh?
Shrinkage.
Yeah. They're talking with Georgia, Florida. They said when they get to Florida, they're already talking to the governor of Florida, that Florida's probably one of the worst in the entire country of the number of businesses that just scam the government by not paying their money. So if we can get this done with the governor, get that approval, $10 million a year coming into Rutherford County. Of course, we have to share that, but still, that's a chunk of money. So you take that on top of the sales tax revenue, and I think you'll see that bill this next year. going through the General Assembly, and we'll continue to push. Hopefully, our legislators will step up and support both of those.
I've been hoping for 8 years.
Yeah, I know.
You were talking about hiring a lobbyist.
I'm just asking.
Okay.
We're not getting anything done.
I think
It may cost you.
with the 16 years that the mayor's been up there, I think we've got a pretty good lobbyist. He can get some phone calls answered. He didn't have any problem getting his phone calls.
Yeah,
I think the city of Murfreesboro, they came out of Tennessee Municipal League and quit paying their $75,000 dues to TML because they weren't getting good representation for them. And so they hired Russ Fair, and I think for about $90,000 is what the city's paying for that lobbyist. So,
Well, I knew Smyrna hired one. I didn't know till a few months ago that Smyrna Murfreesboro had one. I didn't know that was an option.
I didn't know Smyrna hired one either. Okay.
Do you know what they pay?
Yeah, I have no idea what it costs. I have no idea.
I think 100,000 at least.
So that's why I was asking. Yeah.
Is it a full-time lobbyist?
Yes.
Or is it where you hired a lobbyist firm?
It's a
as
lobbyist
needed?
firm, and they represent numerous different companies, but they're still going to charge a fee, a hefty fee to represent you. Between that, restructuring, Mr. Spurlock, hearing anything about restructuring the BEP, I am. Restructuring the BEP form, because it's been that way since Alexander was governor. So those three items right there, we may see some relief next year. Hopefully, we need it. For the faster growing counties, we need that relief. And of course, we may end up in a lawsuit because the tiny counties, kind of like the tiny town issue a number of years ago, they may come back and say, hey, we're equal. We should get the same amount, but that's not right when our numbers are exploding for having to build new schools.
I'll tell you
But
what,
if you want to go to steering, I would recommend that's the place we need.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Do you want me to research the counties and see who all has a lobbyist and what it costs?
You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt to find out.
Okay.
okay, we have a motion and a second,
We haven't voted on this, have we?
and we have not voted on the $308,185 worth of changes.
For revenue,
Just discussed.
53,400 revenue.
Yes.
Plus whatever the difference is in the sheriff's department salaries.
1,200 or whatever that number was gonna be.
But that's all within this motion.
Correct.
So is there any other discussion pertaining to the motion? Hearing none, let's call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd? Yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes. Motion carries. Okay.
A lot of these cover sheets are going to change because revenue's going to change. But if we can go to Fund 116, there's no change. 118, we talked about it. I'm on these individually. We talked about it, and these are in that main sheet. Was to add $27,430 for the ambulances part of the property casualty insurance premium. There's no change in 119, no change in 121, nor 122. And the road and bridge fund, they were using old revenue estimates, and so it would ask that you approve these changes to revenue for next year. Brings their total revenue to $12,049,516. Still, the same appropriation of $11,282,310. I don't know if y'all vote on it individual revenues, but you do on the appropriations. So the other schools, I didn't make any change. Criteria. And nothing else on anything else.
Do you need a motion on these revenue changes?
I think, Mark, what do you think? We'll put in the minutes, we'll make the adjustments for the things that you've done today and drop that into like a grid of what the revenues and appropriations are, what you voted on individually, and then that's what we will go application with.
All those individual funds were.
It's right here.
Were summarized here.
It's summarized, but we're going to add revenue based on the tax rate, that's being proposed. We'll make those change to appropriations.
You need a motion on this right here.
No, I think we've already covered
Yeah.
everything, haven't we?
I think we have, because
Yeah.
we've done individually, we've done the
Right.
tax, and we've done
And
additions.
the additions on the expenditure side and the one revenue.
There will be a change ultimately when you get your book. We had, I don't know if I've already said this, but in the sheriff's department, we had consolidated the booking into their regular patrol, but then found out we're doing a grant, can't count booking, so it would be easier for us to do the accounting. We want to pull them back out. The bottom number should stay the same. It's just we're moving it back out. It'll just look funny in your book.
So we don't need any action on this.
The number will be the same.
Do we want to get them to vote on the solid waste? We didn't change that number, but we're
I will
swapping
just
in
tell you, yeah,
between line items in there.
we did make a change on the property casualty and insurance. The bottom line stayed the same. We just adjusted what was building and what was liability. So you see that change. I mean, because you voted on the bottom line number, I'm just telling you some of the numbers between us.
Okay, so I don't think we've got any other business, but we are making a request to go to steering to give us some feedback on wheel tax versus property tax or a combination thereof. And we'll consider what they tell us on June the 6th at our next regular meeting. And also, we can request steering to give us some feedback on their thoughts on a lobbyist. And we're going to ask our HR director.
By Monday,
to-
I'll try to have it.
It doesn't have to be in this budget cycle. I'm just wondering, is it something we need to consider? You know, after you've been in this job a year and you get frustrated, next year maybe you'll say, yeah, we need one. I don't know.
Publication, cost of publication. Do you want to bring that up?
Well, we normally,
Last year, we decided we didn't have to actually vote on that, but it's, we're going to publish in Murfreesboro Post, same price as last year, $1,680 on June 11th, which is, they publish on a Tuesday. Public hearing will be on the 17th on the following Monday.
So this publication will reflect the 20 cents.
That's correct.
So we'll make sure everybody's clear on that.
so, and that publication will be when?
The Tuesday, June 11th edition of the Murfreesboro Post.
Is there any other business? Here, no, we're adjourned, folks.